Hey gang, today we're gonna dive into the seedy underbelly of America. We'll be traversing the dark, sketchy alleys of statehood, and we'll use the latest data to shine a light on which states need to finally grow up and get their act together. If you live in one of these states, first of all, I'm sorry, but maybe this video will serve as a wake-up call. You can finally hold that emergency town hall meeting and try and scare your fellow residents straight. Who knows? Maybe you guys start coming up with solutions, and the next thing you know, your state is the drum major, or at least the color guard captain in the next best state parade. Or you can live in denial. It's your choice. If you don't live in any of these states, congratulations. You're probably feeling good about yourself. Some of you may have survivor's guilt. Either way, the following states serve as a cautionary tale to all those who dream about one day becoming a state. For this ranking, we use the latest data on the economy, health, crime, infrastructure, affordability, and the environment, and let the chips fall where they may. As always, if you don't agree with our rankings, let us know in the comments why your favorite state's high violent crime rate is being taken out of context. Here we go. These are the top 10 worst states in America for 2024. But first, a few honorable mentions. Tennessee. The volunteer state did its best to volunteer to be on this ranking, with a mountain of problems, including the 4th highest violent crime rate, which to be fair is pretty much all on Memphis, the 10th lowest median household income, a chain-smoking, physically unfit, and mentally depressed populace with the 7th worst life expectancy, one of the worst education systems, and a power grid that can barely keep the lights on. It would seem they would be a top-notch contender. However, change is in the air, and like an addict on the brink, flirting with the absolute edge, but saved by the grace of God and finally in rehab, Tennessee is starting to pick up the pieces with the best overall residential and economic growth in the nation. That growth seems to be accelerating, especially amongst millennials. With this type of turnaround, yes, you would be correct in thinking we are all witnessing Tennessee's very own Brendan Fraser comeback moment. South Carolina. Just by having the 3rd highest homicides, 5th highest violent crime, and 10th highest property crime, South Carolina belongs in the top 10. But just like we saw with Tennessee, they're gonna pull a Houdini and sneak their way out of it. South Carolina has the 9th lowest median household income, the 11th highest poverty rate, plus they have natural disasters like hurricanes to worry about that could destroy their already dilapidated infrastructure. But even if they survive those, they have the 10th worst life expectancy. They also have the 5th worst infant mortality, premature births, and birth weight. Yes, it's safe to say you do not want to get pregnant here. Maybe it's due to the fact they have the 9th most people that don't seek medical care because they can't afford it. Okay, so how do they get out of this one? Well, like any good magic trick, here comes the prestige. South Carolina has been the fastest growing state this past year and the 2nd fastest since the pandemic. All those new people have stimulated economic growth in a place with a low cost of living, which has seen the poverty rate shrink. With the economic boom and tourism increasing in an already very popular state, South Carolina just pulled off the Great Escape. West Virginia. Unlike the previous 2 states, West Virginia has people fleeing, which is mostly due to severe limitations on opportunity. West Virginia reminds me of someone you love that's a good person at heart, but they just can't seem to hold a job. They put on a little weight from all the stress and from feeling depressed all the time. They stopped taking care of themselves. Now they got a bunch of unpaid medical bills, and in order to cope, they ended up getting hooked on painkillers and chain smoke all day. Yes, they have problems, but unlike the previous states, West Virginia internalizes their emotions, especially the big scary ones, and doesn't take their problems out on other people, with the 7th lowest violent crime and 2nd lowest property crime. They are the 9th most affordable state with the 12th lowest taxes. The amount of problems this state has would make your jaw drop and even make Mississippi blush, but since it's a safe and affordable place to live, that keeps them out of the bottom 10. All right, enough with the wannabe mean girls. Let's move on to the states that, if evaluated by a clinical psychologist, would be showing signs of extreme risk-taking behavior. These are the states your mom told you to stay away from. Number 10. Illinois. Not only is Illinois a top 10 worst state, but they actually charge their residents a premium for the privilege, with the 8th highest sales tax, the 6th highest income tax, and the 2nd highest property tax. For a long time, these evil geniuses have convinced their residents they're doing them a favor, and that a good trade-off for the 2nd highest taxes in the nation are lots of murders, the 5th worst economy, with the 4th highest unemployment rate. If I was an Illinoisan, I would be demanding to know where all our tax revenue is going. But with 4 of the last 7 governors going to prison, I think I have my answer. And have you seen some of their politicians? Rod Blagojevich, J.B. Pritzker, Lori Lightfoot, anyone? They look like a ragtag group of comic book villains. And they help create a state that people can't leave fast enough. Seriously, everyone's moving out. They finally snapped out of whatever insane Stockholm Syndrome type trance they were in, realized they were in an abusive relationship, and bolted into the night to safety. With the second lowest divorce rate in the country, you can see why they stuck it out for so long. And like someone looking back on a toxic relationship, maybe now they can finally see all the red flags we have been desperately trying to warn them about. The 4th worst air quality, the 9th highest excessive drinking rate, the 8th worst weather that's prone to severe storms and flooding. Honestly, I think it's going to take some time for these people to heal emotionally. Believe it or not, even with all the problems, Chicago is still one of the most beautiful cities in the country with so much to see and do. If the people downstate in Chicago could work together for once and collectively stop electing weird-looking supervillains and try to put a lid on all the violence in Chicago, the state might have a fighting chance of rising back up into obscurity. Number 9. Ohio. There is just something about Ohio that makes its residents really want to overdose on drugs. Maybe it's because they don't have the fulfillment of being in a really good state or the absolute adrenaline rush of being in a high crime all the time type of state. Don't get me wrong, they have plenty of problems or else they wouldn't be on this ranking. But as you'll see from the upcoming states, Ohio has a lot of what we would call first world problems. Now, stacked on top of each other, they start to become pretty heavy, and Ohio's knees start to buckle until they collapse down into the bowels of the worst states. Economic and infrastructure woes rule the day in Ohio with the 6th worst economy and infrastructure. But they aren't the darlings of public health or the environmental lobby either, with the 7th highest obesity, 8th highest infant mortality, the 6th least physically active state with the 4th most smokers. Not to mention it has the 6th worst toxic pollution. It's a sad state of affairs when your main claim to fame is spaghetti mixed with chili and being middle of the road in crime and education. They are known as the birthplace for aviation because everyone is trying to fly away from this boring place. And with the 4th worst power grid in the nation, I'm shocked they actually had the capacity to make an airplane. With all these problems and nothing fun to do, I would want to be on the first flight out of there. It's just not worth it. So why do they have so many people? Ohio is like those famous actors you see in almost every movie, but you couldn't say their name to save your life. They're famous, but at the same time, they're not. I guess their popularity all boils down to how cheap the state is, with the 5th best home value to income ratio in the nation, top 10 affordable rents, and the 6th cheapest car insurance because they barely have any DUIs. Plus, their kids can read and do basic math with top 10 ranks in both categories. If they took their economy as seriously as their meth labs and decided to maybe fix all the roads and bridges so it didn't feel like you were in a Final Destination movie, they would fly high and away from the bottom 10. Number 8. Michigan. Michigan might have won the college football national championship battle this year, but they lost the worst state war with Ohio. With these two states constantly trying to outdo each other, you would think the competition would result in better quality states and not the opposite. Back in the 1800s, they actually fought over present-day Toledo, so that tells you everything you need to know about these two. Detroit needs no introduction. We all know the drama of the Motor City. The once proud industrial giant is now a shell of its former self, and the poster child of defunct former greats taken over by crime. I would take more shots at Detroit, but honestly, the city's been through enough. And what about Flint? My God, are we still talking about their water problems? They haven't figured that out yet? Hey, Michigan, here's some more problems you should sit on for the next decade. You have the 8th highest toxic pollution levels, the 9th worst roads, and 8th worst bridges, which, surprise, surprise, helped your car insurance to become the highest in the nation. With the 8th highest violent crime rate, the 11th lowest new business creation, the 6th lowest job growth, the 9th highest unemployment rate, and the 11th most power outages, people are moving out of your state. To make it easy for you to understand, I'll put up my hand to make a map of Michigan and show you how they are exiting everywhere my hand isn't. I'm not saying the grass is always greener. In fact, Michigan is a beautiful state with the 11th most national and state park coverage. The Upper Peninsula is a national treasure that everyone should explore. Overall, Michigan is pretty affordable, with the 12th lowest median home value and cost of living, along with pretty low utility costs. And it's not like you guys are dumb. You have the 10th most college graduates and the 12th best literacy rate. And to top it off, you have the 5th most people with health insurance. Forget football. The game between you and Ohio should be who could get off this ranking first. Number 7. Alabama. Traditionally, Alabama is always closer to the bottom on this ranking, but the state has a not horrible economy, decent infrastructure with the best roads in the country, and is extremely affordable with the 5th lowest cost of living. It also helps that the remaining states on this ranking continue to stink it up to new unseen levels. In this uncharted territory, it would be easy for Alabama to feel like it's going through an identity crisis and not know who they really are anymore. At this juncture, they could either continue making forward progress, maybe hire a life coach, take up capoeira to burn off some negative energy and climb out of the bottom 10 states. Or they could backslide, maybe buy a convertible Miata, show up to their son's baseball game drunk with a Hooters waitress as they spiral back down to the bottom 3. Anything's possible, but if I was a betting man, I would say this isn't the last time we've seen Alabama on this ranking. Given they have the 8th worst crime and safety scores with the 7th highest homicide rate and 9th highest property crime. They have the 7th lowest median household income and the 7th highest poverty rate. Add in high utility costs, and you have a recipe for people living paycheck to paycheck. Alabama is ranked 5th worst in education with the 8th lowest college graduates, 8th highest high school dropout rate, the 5th worst K-12 ranking with scores in both math and reading in the bottom 10, and the 10th worst funding per student. With all these issues and not much national or state parks to look at, and with god-awful weather to endure with bugs all over the place, it's a miracle they are seeing any population growth. And that's all mostly in the Huntsville area. The headline here, though, is their abysmal public health rankings. Alabama, listen, I'm not saying you need to stop caring about football and stop saying Roll Tide and War Eagle before and after everything, but my God, start caring about yourself as much as you care about a football game. For the record, you have the 3rd highest infant mortality and premature birth rates, the 5th highest teen pregnancy, and 7th most to unwed mothers, the 4th worst life expectancy at just 73 years. Listen to me. You are the least physically active state in the whole country, with the 6th highest obesity rate, the 7th most smokers, the 6th unhappiest people with the 7th highest depression. And no one seems to care. No wonder Huntsville's nickname is the Rocket City, because you are all truly lost in space. The truth hurts, but what would Coach say in a situation like this? Would he tell you to give up? Would he say let's just roll over? Hell no, he'd say get after their asses. Now get out of the top 10 and stay there. Number 6, New Mexico. Grab your Sharpie eyeliner, it's time to cruise down Route 66 to the land of Mañana, otherwise known as New Mexico. Make sure to wear your Duke's hat and your Lokes, cause it's gonna be all sick. After we get our Zia tattoos, we'll tour the war zone of Albuquerque, affectionately known as the International District, by those who want to completely offend the international community. But bring your peace, homie, because we are venturing into the most violent state in America. Make sure to keep your eyes on your lowrider, because honestly, it's only a matter of time until it gets stolen. Along with being the most violent state, New Mexico has the highest property crime and most stolen vehicles, and second place is not even close. You also need to keep your head on a swivel because New Mexico is ranked 7th in DUI severity. I keep saying Breaking Bad was a documentary because the state has a major drug problem with the 6th highest overdose rate and has seen the 2nd highest increase per capita in homelessness year over year. So why all the problems? Well, New Mexico is one of the poorest states with the 4th highest poverty rate, 8th lowest median household income, and is the most welfare dependent state in the nation. Uneducated, poor, and desperate people tend to not make the best life decisions. The state suffers year after year with poor education rankings, with the lowest rankings in math and reading for kids out of all the 50 states. A high teen pregnancy rate, with most of them becoming single mothers, just helps perpetuate the cycle. Plus, they have the 2nd lowest college graduation rate. Yes, there are a lot of PhDs per capita, but that has more to do with Los Alamos and Sandia National Labs hiring people to move to the state. It's not all doom and gloom for New Mexico, though. Besides hosting the world-famous balloon fiesta, the state offers the best food out of all the 50 states and is often considered one of the most beautiful states to live in, with an amazing climate. And other than all the thugs trying to murder you, it also has some of the most down-to-earth and sweet people you will ever meet. Number 5, Missouri. I can hear the cops' intro song now. The cameraman is desperately trying to keep up with some naked, methed out madman fighting with police officers in the middle of the street. Just a day in the life of Missouri. There's no chill here, just drug-fueled chaos 24/7. The show me state is showing everyone they're aiming to be number 1 on this ranking someday. And like a train wreck, it's really hard to look away, even though you desperately want to for your own mental health. Missouri is, how should I put this, extremely violent, with them being 4th in homicides, yes, we see you St. Louis, and 7th highest in total crime. On top of that, the state has the 10th lowest median household income, but the 13th highest median home value. So good luck buying a house. And trust me, you need to be indoors because Missouri has the worst air quality in the nation, with the least amount of good air quality days and the 2nd most unhealthy days behind Wisconsin. Not only that, but Missouri has the 5th worst environmental conditions of all the states. Maybe all that crud is making them the 9th most unhealthy state, with the 10th highest depression rate and the 9th most cigarette smokers. I mean, I'm getting depressed just talking about all this. In fact, I need a cigarette to take the edge off. Oh my God, I'm literally turning into a Missourian right before your eyes. Okay, let's talk about some good things so I can stop feeling like this. Missouri has the 7th highest private sector business growth and the 6th best cost of living. They also have the 8th lowest rents, so they don't have to be outdoors after all. Nice. Okay, now we're cooking. What else? They have the 8th lowest childcare costs, low food and transportation costs with decent roads. Okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I should be good as long as the next state isn't Mississippi. Number 4, Mississippi. Like a moth to the flame, Mississippi is hypnotically and fatally attracted to being on every conceivable worst of ranking. It seems like every year we go through the same song and dance with Mississippi. Some of you are probably shocked that they aren't number 1, but I think the state is desperately trying to shake the whole "thank God for Mississippi" tagline onto some other poor state by making small improvements in crime and education. Don't get me wrong, Mississippi is still an absolute dumpster fire in a ton of categories, but you have to give them credit for at least trying to make their state a better place. They still have a long way to go though, with the lowest GDP in the nation, being the 5th worst in new business creation, last in labor participation, last in year-over-year job growth. They've actually lost people since the pandemic. They're last in median household income and have the worst poverty rate. See, I told you it was still bad. Speaking of bad, raise your hand if you've been to Mississippi in the summer. How and why people settled there is beyond me. The only reason to willingly go there in the summer is if you hate yourself and you want to participate in some sort of twisted self-flagellation ritual. Not to mention the lack of national and state parks to enjoy, and this place is starting to feel like a real buzzkill. But that's all kids play compared to the public health category. My God, where to begin? Okay, let's rattle these off. They have the 4th worst access and affordability to healthcare, the 3rd worst hospitals, 2nd worst nursing homes, the highest infant mortality, premature births, and the lowest birth weight of all the states, 2nd most teen pregnancies with the most newborns to unwed mothers, and the most cesarean deliveries. The lowest life expectancy at just 71.9 years, 4th highest obesity rate, 5th most cigarette smokers, 2nd least physically active state, and the 7th unhappiest. Okay, let me take a breather. All right, here we go again. The worst overall infrastructure in the nation with the 9th most power outages, the 6th worst public transit, and the least amount of homes with internet service. Mississippi has the 6th worst education system with the 9th lowest literacy rates. The good news is they do send the most high school graduates straight to college out of any state in the nation. The problem is they have the 2nd worst high school dropout rate, and of the kids that do go to college, many are left in debt and without a diploma. Mississippi's cheapest cost of living in the whole country, improvements to education, and the fact Amazon is about to invest $10 billion there have dragged their collapsed, exhausted state over the finish line just ahead of these next 3 states. Number 3, Oklahoma. Ah, the poor man's Texas. I know, that might just be the most insulting thing I've said yet, but Oklahoma has some work to do to catch up to Texas. Not that Texas isn't doing its best to meet Oklahoma at the bottom. I'm not a psychologist, but imagine your whole identity is based on hating someone who is exactly like you. Oklahoma scores in the bottom 10 states in every single category. 9th worst in overall crime and safety with the 5th highest incarceration rate. The 10th worst economy with the 6th lowest median household income and 8th worst year-over-year job growth, leading to the 8th highest poverty rate. And like being put on hold, sitting in a waiting room, or standing in line, Oklahoma just feels boring. Maybe that's why it's the 10th least visited state. Well, that and the fact that it has the 2nd lowest natural environment rankings with the 6th lowest air and water quality, the 4th lowest amount of national and state park coverage, and is generally considered to be one of the ugliest states with horrible weather. Newsflash, tourists want to go see the exact opposite of all that. And I haven't even touched on the multiple elephants in the room: health, infrastructure, and education. Oklahoma has the 6th worst public health system with honestly too many things to even list. Just think of any health subcategory and be assured they are in the bottom 10 states for it. They have the 8th worst infrastructure ranking with horrible internet service, a poor public transit system, and true to form in Tornado Alley, bridges falling apart everywhere. Oklahoma has the 4th worst education system with the 7th lowest college graduates, 7th highest high school dropout rate, 7th worst K through 12 rankings with low math and reading scores. But guess what? It's not all bad news for Oklahoma. They do have the 13th highest population growth since everything is dirt cheap because of all the aforementioned problems. Yes, people are packing up their bags, revving up their F-350s, and heading to the nation's 3rd lowest cost of living, 4th lowest median home value, and the cheapest food costs in America to set up shop next to some of the friendliest and welcoming people. Number 2, Arkansas. Get ready to see gun-toting, tobacco-spitting, camo baseball hat-wearing moonshiners talking about hogs this and hogs that, dry counties, dirt roads, and yep, Walmart. By the way, did I mention the camo? I have never seen more camo in my life. Camo overalls, camo boots, camo everything. We get it. You don't want to be seen. But as uncomfortable as it is for all of us, we need you to put on some safety orange, step in front of the hunting blinds, and have this difficult conversation with us. You need to hear that you have created an environment so bad it has completely scared away the homeless. You're also scaring away the tourists because you're the 6th least visited state. Maybe the out-of-control crime has something to do with it. Arkansas is the 6th highest in homicides, 2nd highest in violent crime, and has the 5th highest property crime. Add that all up, and they are the 2nd most unsafe state behind only New Mexico. Why all the crime and desperation? How much time do you have? Arkansas has the lowest GDP, and it seems to be going backwards. The 5th lowest labor participation rate, with the 4th lowest median household income, and their poverty rate is the 5th highest. Their overall economic ranking is the 3rd worst out of all the states, and their education system is almost as bad at 4th worst. They have the 3rd lowest college graduates and the 8th highest high school dropout rate. You think that's bad? Let's get to where Arkansas struggles the most, the public health department. My God, these people have little to no self-respect when it comes to taking care of themselves. Arkansas has the 7th highest cigarette smoking rate and the 7th worst life expectancy. Maybe it's because they are also the 4th least physically active state and eat tons of fried food. Here's an idea. Rather than sitting in a tree stand all day, maybe get down and chase whatever it is you're hunting. Get your blood going and work up a sweat. I bet it increases your happiness ranking, which is 4th worst, your sky-high depression levels, and your high suicide rate. Arkansas has the 2nd highest infant mortality rate and the 7th highest rate for premature babies. Again, most of these pregnancies are to teens that will go on to be single mothers. They do have the 2nd lowest childcare cost, but let's be honest, with their track record, I don't want them anywhere near my kids. Put the cigarette down. Put in the hard work and start feeling better. You have an extremely beautiful, very affordable state to explore with relaxing hot springs, the Ozarks, and Fayetteville, which is a gym filled with Southern charm. Come on, guys, you're worth it. All right, before we get to number 1, if this has been informative and enjoyable, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos. With that out of the way, number 1, Louisiana. I imagine being a parent to Louisiana, and I come home and say, Louisiana, what happened at school today? The principal called and told me you attacked your teacher, had her in tears. You stormed out of class saying you're dropping out and that you're pregnant and don't know who the father is. You keep bullying everyone. Now you're 3rd in total crime. Stealing other states' lunches. Now you have the 2nd highest obesity rate out of everyone at your school. Your principal said you can't do math, you can barely read, and your hygiene has now become a big issue with you being 3rd worst in toxic pollution. Let me tell you something. You keep going on like this and you'll go from 48th to 50th in life expectancy. And of course you picked up smoking. That doesn't help things. The school psychologist said you were ranked the 2nd most unhappy state with the 6th highest depression rate. The faculty even have you on their secret top 5 states that could experience a major natural disaster at any given moment list. Listen, I know we're the 2nd poorest state in the neighborhood, but what's gotten into you? And then suddenly, Louisiana turns and yells, I learned it from you. I learned it from watching you. And I'm like, my God, Louisiana's right. After that, there's a whole montage sequence of us getting our lives together. But anyways, back in reality, let's all hope that Louisiana can montage its way to learning from its mistakes, having better role models, and finally repairing its relationship with its father. After all, like so many other troubled states on this top 10 ranking, they have a lot of potential, but haven't been shown much love to realize it. Louisiana has low state income and property taxes, decent GDP growth, a robust tourism industry, great culture, low college tuition and debt at graduation, a decent energy grid, and across the board is a very affordable state. Come on, Louisiana, we don't want to see you on Maury's out-of-control teens anymore. We're rooting for you. And that is your top 10 worst states in America for 2024. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time.